Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond Dafeet. In this video we're going to be comparing the Nike Pegasus 37 to the Nike React Infinity Run Flyknit. So starting off with both these shoes, they are targeted as neutral shoes. You got a slight bit more stability in the Infinity React using that clutch clip at the back. We'll get into that once we touch on the midsole. For React cushioning, you can easily do up to a kind of a marathon training in both of these. You're looking at about 800 k's of pop. Very dialed in shoes, especially when it comes to the cushioning system. Your Pegasus has just dropped and your Infinity React kind of dropped, I think it was late February this year. We'll get into the shoes. Starting off with the outsole, they use a heap of rubber underneath both of these. Got a slight bit of different rubber in the heel zone of the Infinity React. Yeah, well, looking at that, slight bit of shedding with that midsole as well. It just does shed if you are quite a heel striker. Slight bit more of a rocker sole on that Infinity React as well. Ton of cushioning up front. Like if you wear through that, you've definitely done quite a few Ks in the shoe. Yeah, nice and grippy even in the wet. Have done quite a few runs in this kind of in the damp, the wet foot pass, and it does grip on it well. With the Pegasus, slightly bit more of a flex groove in that forefoot area. They do use a React midsole, so it is quite stiff still. You do have a guidance line if you are someone that does slightly supinate. This kind of does guide you throughout your gait cycle. Slightly bit more cushioning taken out that heel, so if you are a heel striker, it just doesn't kind of impact on each step. And there's kind of a bit more of a bevel, but this isn't a rocker sole at all. Just slightly bit more of a bevel if you are a slight bit of a heel striker. Moving on to the midsole, so both using a full React cushioning system. You got kind of, I think it's a 9.6mm drop in the Infinity React. I'm not sure how they get it down to the 0.0 of a millimeter, but supposedly it's around that. Whereas you got a 10mm drop in your Pegasus. So full React cushioning. You do have an air zoom unit in your Pegasus 37. Pretty sure it's 20 psi for men and 15 psi for women. Ends up kind of feeling the same, just with how the body weights of the average men and women are. So yeah, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of difference as far as fit and feel goes across both genders. But yeah, full React midsole. It is saying that the stack height is 24mm to 14, but you've got a ton more cushioning underneath both your forefoot as well as your rear foot. So yeah, I think it'd be kind of more like a 32 to 22 as far as the React cushioning goes. It is quite a lot thicker than that 14mm they are advertising. With your React foam as well as your clutch clip in your Infinity Reacts, it does use a kind of a nice rear foot guidance system. You do supinate quite a bit in this shoe. I feel that the clutch clip does kind of dig in and stops you from supinating. So if you are quite a severe supinator or even just supinate slightly, I would point towards the Pegasus since it doesn't really stabilize that. You can just kind of continue throughout your gait cycle quite nicely instead of trying to be snapped back into a neutral position with your Infinity React. Yeah, both cushioning systems as well as outsole, you're going to get a ton of Ks out of both these shoes and they're going to be quite pleasurable. You can kind of throw anything at these guys. Coming around that kind of high 200 grams marks, they are a decent high cushion shoe. Both of these with the midsoles as well to kind of do have that bucket seat similar to what the Hokas have been doing. Slightly a bit more pronounced in the Pegasus though, so your foot does kind of sit in towards the React cushioning. If you do have a low arch, this kind of might irritate you, and the bucket seat kind of does finish around your forefoot flex joint. It is noticeable, kind of feels like it has an arch in the shoe. It doesn't irritate at all. I do have quite a low arch and it sits quite right with me, so if you do have that higher arch or medium height arch, you shouldn't really notice it at all. With your clutch clip in your Infinity React, not as deep of a kind of bucket seat, but it can irritate some of the low arches a bit more. I know running in this myself, I did kind of irritate that inside of the midfoot, but I just chucked an inner sole in there and it seemed to be quite alright, since the inner sole that they do have in the Infinity React is probably one of the most useless I've seen when it comes to a $230 shoe. Moving on to the upper, so this is basically your main difference in these shoes. You've got one pretty useless upper in your Infinity React and quite a half decent upper in your Pegasus. They do have a Flyknit where the tongues it is fully gusseted, so there isn't really a tongue, it's just kind of a one piece upper. They do have Flyknit Loft, which is a bit of an unusual kind of mesh. I wouldn't really even call it a Flyknit, to be honest. It is just kind of a nylon mesh. There's nothing too fancy about it. It is quite rigid. Toe box is quite shallow. This isn't a wide fit as most of the reviewers have been saying. It is quite standard. Yeah, I'd probably say that you've got a slightly bit more rounder of a toe box in the Pegasus, whereas this does kind of cut off quite quickly. If you do toss up between both sizes, I'd probably look at doing that half size up in the Infinity Reacts, but I'd take the same size in both these. I do take a size 12 in both these. Heel counter, as I've said in a lot of videos, doesn't have one. Some people have enjoyed the heel lockdown on this. The lacing system on the Infinity React is basically non-existent. Even if you kind of just use elastic laces, it basically does the same job. Even if you probably don't even lace up the midfoot, it'll do the same job. But yeah, a lot of people, just as well as myself, have been trying to dial in that midfoot section, even locking in the heel. You don't have a lock lace eyelet there at all to lock in the foot that bit extra. The lacing system on this is quite useless, and the upper, yeah, just with how many Ks Nike claim to have put into this shoe, it is a very useless upper when they've done 60,000 odd miles in it. Pegasus 37, tried and true upper, very simplistic. You got a nice breathable engineered mesh, fits very true to size. They have removed the fly wires in the midfoot, so they have kind of gone with Saucony's ISO fit. So they're extended eyelets, they do lock down the midfoot quite well. Some runners had experience of fly wires kind of digging into their midfoot, so that's why they got rid of them. They kind of got the same tongue they've had on the last 2 generations, so it's a nice thin tongue. Very nice feel in the toe box, is slightly a bit more deeper than the Infinity React. But yeah, fits very true to size, a bit more cushioning around the heel counter, plus it actually does have one which does help. A bit of that Nike flare away at the Achilles. If you do have any kind of Achilles tendonitis or a lump at the heel on the Achilles, that kind of can just help, instead of probably just causing a blister in that Infinity React. Yeah, as far as price point goes, as well as the overall shoe goes, I'd be definitely picking up the Pegasus 37 compared to the Infinity React. As far as durability goes, you're going to probably get the same lifetime out of the both of these. The upper is just going to hold your foot a lot better over the life of the shoe, as well as it's probably just going to hold your foot full stop. That does help when it comes to a running shoe. You could easily do a lot of workouts in these if you want to have that one shoe that does basically everything. Your Pegasus can easily do that. It's just basically a nice workhorse when it comes to the shoe. You can even utilize this as a race day shoe if you need be. If you have been running in either of these shoes, let us know what you think down in the comments. If you have liked what we've done here today, hit the subscribe button, give us one of them ones, and we'll see you in another video.